Hey everyone, welcome to r/Tales from Tech Support, where we get to have a little chuckle at the technologically disadvantaged, like me. I'm Uncle Reddit, and have I got a story for you. I should have seen it coming. I work in a small IT shop with low traffic, and an old person asked me to show him how to use Facebook, Skype, and the internet basically. I help elderly people with these things almost every week, so there was nothing unusual with this request. Because of the shop's low traffic, there's always time to teach the older generation. My usual tactic with old people is to have them take notes, and not only watch me do everything, but also try it themselves. After we finish, they take a small exam, where I ask them to do the things we talked about, but with me just observing and not helping. This method always worked so far. Some of them even got the courage to try new technology stuff themselves, and return just to proudly show off their new tablet, computer, or phone skills. The old man today said he'll understand everything by watching me doing and explaining it, and said he's a fast learner. He even refused to take notes. I didn't want to force him to do anything, so I just slowly showed him everything, with asking, "Is everything okay so far?" from time to time. He always said yes, he understood everything, and that it's not that difficult. We sometimes had breaks to let the information sink in. We spent an hour and a half with going through everything slowly. I honestly believed him that he understands everything. Then he asked me, "Could you please write all these on paper?" I don't have my glasses with me and haven't seen anything on the screen, and everything you were saying seemed difficult, so I didn't really pay attention. I asked him several times during that 90 minutes if everything is alright, so it's not like he didn't have a chance to tell me to stop, especially when we were having those 5-minute breaks. I understand that he might have felt ashamed for not seeing well or not understanding things, but if that was the case, where did his shame go when he casually said he didn't listen? I've known some older people that are weird when they forget their glasses and stuff, and they don't want to let on that they really can't see anything. But like you said, with that statement at the end where, he just, I didn't listen. Well, hell no, I ain't writing it down for you. You can take care of that yourself. I just took 90 minutes out of my day to help you out, and, now you want me to take, another half hour and write everything down? I don't think so. "Help me, son. My laptop isn't working." So this is a bit of a jovial story, as the victim of technology was none other than my mother. I was at work one day doing work things when my phone rang. It was my mother, so I went to an empty room and picked it up. "Hi, Mom." Her. "Hi, well, I think I did something to the laptop." "Oh my, what did you do?" "I just wanted to increase the volume, and as I pressed the button, it wrote something like putting on standby, and it turned off." Me thinking, what the heck? Did she hibernate it or something? "Are you sure you pressed the volume button?" Her. "Yes." Me. "Did you try turning it on again?" Her. "Yes, it didn't do anything." Me. "Is there a charger plugged in?" Her. "Yes, it's plugged into the laptop." I couldn't really tell her anything that could help, so I told her I'll go and check it out after work. We hung up and I got back to work. A couple hours go by and my phone's ringing again. It's her. "Hi, Mom." Her. "You're gonna laugh at me." Me. "That's a possibility. What did you do?" Her. "Remember I said the charger was plugged into the laptop?" Yeah. Her. "Well, it wasn't plugged into the socket." Me. Trying to hold back my laughter at this point. "Nice job, Mom. I presume it's working now then?" Her. "Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that it's working now. Don't tell your colleagues, okay?" Me. "No promises there." Well, I didn't tell my colleagues. I did, however, tell it to the whole of Reddit. So, yeah, no promises. It's too funny. I will say, at least she admitted her mistake. God love her. I love my wife to death, but she'll do the same kind of stuff, "Is your phone charger plugged in, honey?" "Yeah." "Both ends?" And she gets mad because I have to ask her that last part, both ends of the cord. Because she'll look at the one that's hanging out of her phone or her laptop or her tablet and won't bother to trace it back and make sure it's actually plugged into the charger base or the wall outlet or whatever. You woke me up for this? I run an IT department for a senior services organization, and I have one help desk tech. The department is rather young, and because of that and other political reasons, we have not established an on-call rotation. At this time, I'm the go-to when the stuff hits the fan. As such, I've been called in the middle of the night only about a handful of times over my 6-year tenure, knock on wood. In most cases, the times I've been called are legitimate reasons to call. My cell phone is in the emergency contacts book at the building should they need to reach me for an emergency. This morning was a different story. Phone rings at 1:39 a.m. Me, this is Grim Coder. User, hi, this is User on the TCU wing. I have a computer that isn't working. All the other computers are working, but this one isn't. Me, wiping the sleep out of my eye. I get up and stumble over to the computer. Oh, what exactly is happening? User, when I press certain keys on the keyboard, that key repeats on the screen. Me, you called about a keyboard not working? User, yeah, I wanted to make sure it was working for user number 2 when she gets in the morning. Me, this is not an emergency. Use a different computer for the rest of your shift. We'll replace it in the morning. Click. Then I get to stare at the ceiling for 2 hours before I doze off. I don't understand. People's sense of what's important and what's not, it really is skewed. If you have other computers at your disposal, that one being messed up because of the keyboard or whatever is not a big deal. Yeah, not a good reason to call anybody at 1:39 in the morning. Notebook worries. A little bit of backstory. I'm your friendly sysadmin and was contacted in August of 2020 by HR that a new person will be on board in 10 days in a remote location. They informed me that he was joining the company from another company in the group. When I said I don't have any hardware on site, as everybody needed notebooks for their pandemic-related working from home activities, they replied that he still has his old notebook and is able to work. My mistake. I did assume his old work notebook and did not wonder if the old company would not want it back. So I ordered a new notebook for him right away, but that needed 4 weeks for delivery, and then the whole installation and branding shebang. The notebook was postponed for another week, and also I was busy putting out fires in our production environment. 4 weeks into the user's occupation in the company, I got a call from manager asking why the person they hired is waiting 4 weeks for his notebook. I told them about the lead time and that the notebook, which was delivered in the meantime, was ready for installation, and that I was under the impression that he was able to work with his old notebook. Another week of firefighting goes on, and the installation task, which is mostly automated but needs a few touches here and there, was not high on my priorities. After all, he was able to work. So I got a call from manager, who got promoted to angry manager, asking me why user has to work with OWA on his personal notebook and where the heck his notebook was stuck. I explained myself, as I was under the impression that he would be able to work on the notebook from the last company and promised him to finalize right away, which I did. The next day took the notebook to the post office and sent it to the hands of the user in the remote location. After that, I didn't hear about the topic for 2 weeks. Everybody seemed to be happy. Then one day, user calls me and says he can't log into the notebook. It wouldn't accept his password. I found out that while he's working from home, he changed the password while the notebook was in transport. I told him to log in with his old password until he's at remote location or any other location of the company, which worked, but of course, Outlook being Outlook, it popped up credential requests on every start, and user was slightly annoyed. He vented his feelings on the phone. Twice. I told him that this would go on until he managed to get to a site of the company so the notebook is able to talk to the domain. When he finally did, a few more venting phone calls to the manager and me happened in between, we again had radio silence for another 3 weeks. Maybe. That's when his notebook started throwing blue screens, which would result from a damaged RAM module, as we later found. So I told him those can happen, but if it gets annoying he can send the notebook and I can swap the SSD from his notebook into a spare one, which I had also ordered with his notebook. So we did that, and again, radio silence. Everybody happy. Until today. I received a phone call, but I was already talking on the other line and it went to voicemail. Listening in on the recording, user told me that the replacement notebook I sent, that he never used, what was he using anyway, was not working since it would not accept his password, and if I remembered the Windows password I used for installation. I feel like I'm stuck in a loop here. Kind of sounds like everybody's doing their own thing, like there's no set standard protocol for anything. Or the guy's just not listening and following instructions and the manager doesn't help things. We moved the print server, so why don't our printers work? This is actually unfolding right now. I work for a mid-sized MSP in my city, and one of our very small clients has a simple setup for their tenants. 2 printers in each wing of their building provide print and scan functions for their individual clients using personalized logins. There's a central PC server that allows these logins to function. All of these devices are under a TAAS agreement and, while rented by the client, are owned by the MSP. We received a ticket this morning that both of these printers are giving an unknown error revolving around not being able to log in. Our MSP guy logs into the server PC and can't figure out why he's unable to see the printers. He found that not only was the PC moved, a new wireless NIC had been installed so that they could use their Sonos audio system without any issues. This Sonos system could be its own story regarding the snafu around configuring it. Now we're at an impasse. It's our equipment, but it has a bunch of unauthorized software on it. TeamViewer, Sonos, and Spotify to name the primary offenders. Waiting on proper approvals to remove that software and lock the PC down properly. Not sure why that wasn't done at the start, but here we are. So I remember one of the offices that I helped manage a long time ago. We leased copiers that were also capable of being printed to, and they were also our fax machine. It was pretty revolutionary at the time for a small office like ours. But one of the stipulations in the contract was we weren't allowed to move the machine. We could roll it away from the wall for vacuuming and things like that, or, whatever, if we needed to paint the wall. But the location of the machine needed to stay the same, because that's where there was a dedicated receptacle for the electric. The big deal was the RJ45 jack that was in the wall specifically for that printer. Generally speaking, their deal was, you don't touch it. If you need to relocate it, you call us, we come, we do it. Less hassle that way. I think that's a good policy to have, honestly. The Phantom Faulty Heat Sensor. The AIM 9L Sidewinder is a heat-seeking missile that uses an argon inert gas canister to cool the onboard computer while it's playing tag. A couple fun facts. The canisters are replaced as the pilots train, getting a target lock on their counterparts and use up the gas. The canisters are installed hand-tight and will self-tighten in flight. To address this, there's a special tool for this one job. However, this tool is often not used, and a screwdriver and some torque will loosen it if you twist on the steel cable attached to the canister. And lastly, the sergeant in charge of those canisters will complain to your supervisor, or higher, that the cables keep coming back chewed up and need replacing because people aren't using the tool. One day the pilot gets a warning light, missile overheating. When he lands, the missile is removed. The argon canister looks good, it's full. A functional check is performed on the missile, rail, and aircraft. It all looks good. They swap out the canister and the aircraft is ready to go. The next time it flies, it happens again. The missile is removed and replaced. The missile rail is taken off, replaced, and inspected. Then the new rail and aircraft are system checked. The argon canister is inspected. No fault is found anywhere. Must be a ghost in the machine. The next time the plane flies, no problems. Good. But it happens again. Same plane, new missile, new rail launcher, different canister. So they start suspecting the fault might be in the aircraft wiring itself. Or they did until the warning popped up in a completely different aircraft with all different equipment. And again, it wasn't every flight. They would get a warning light, run their checks, find nothing, and the next time it would work without incident. This mystery fail is plaguing our shop for weeks. Significant man-hours have been dedicated to finding the cause. Our most experienced crew are beating their heads against the wall trying to make sense of it all. And then one guy happens to mention that he's been installing the argon canisters and then backing it off to half to 3/4 of a turn before closing the panel because they self-tighten and are hard to remove after flight. You don't think that has something to do with it, do you?
Do you think so?
I wish I could have been in the room for that bombshell. The confusion, frustration, and rage must have been palpable. Looking back after the fact, with all the answers in place, the reason seems obvious. The person doing the maintenance is the variable that most easily travels from plane to plane. But our diagnostic team didn't have the imagination to fathom that someone would just stop doing the job the right way, the way they were trained. the way it's been done for years. I don't know if he got any official demerits against him for not following technical data. I imagine so. But I do know he could not sit for a week and was measurably lighter after the ass chewing he received. In any job, not just the military, if you have an idea or if you think there's a better way of doing things, let someone know. At any point in your career, there is someone who knows more and has done it longer. Get their feedback. Agreed, OP. I'm not saying you shouldn't come up with ideas or thoughts or, try to innovate, things like that. But run it by somebody else who's got some tenure, experience, gray hairs. They may just have a better idea or be able to at least explain to you why the idea you have won't work. And maybe even save your job or keep you from losing rank. Backup Groundhog Day.
That's not bad for a quadruped.
This is an old one. However, it still haunts me to this very day. Back in the early 2000s, I was working as a consultant for an IT consulting company. Customers were mainly small business. On a certain day, I was sent to a new customer. You know the story. Go on site, do some inventory, check basic client and server stuff, write a report with recommendations to lure them in. This new potential customer had 2 servers. The oldest one was one of the dreaded NT4 small business servers. Old, but it had large volumes where the user data was stored. Next to that one, some other IT company installed a brand new NT4 server as a standalone in a workgroup. The workgroup name is the same as the SBS server's domain. No comment. The new server also had a nice big tape streamer, so it could back up both itself and the old SBS server. Inspecting the backup configuration on the new server, I noticed the script was running just right before the daily backup job. Curiosity killed the cat and I had to look into the script. It was just a single robocopy kind of command. Sync with overwrite, no confirmations, etc. from one server to the other. Having a second look, this script didn't seem to make any sense to me, especially the direction of the sync command. I proceeded to interrogate the nearest unsuspecting user. If you edit or create any document, is it still there the next day? The answer killed off parts of my brain and destroyed any faith in humanity or technology. Of course not. That's how the system works over here. The script just synced. A once, probably manually created copy back from the new to the old server. Thus effectively each backup job destroying any work done by those poor users. Oof. So wait a minute, if it's actually destroying everything, or at least the data you entered, does that mean you have to recreate it every time you log in and work? I got questions, man. Oh well. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you've enjoyed this content, would you do me a favor? Would you consider giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and maybe click that little bell icon so you don't miss the fat guy with the beard telling you stories. See ya!